Hey everybody, Kevin Anthony here, and today I am joined once again with the beautiful Steph Ganowski. So today's video is going to be about how to broaden your sex appeal with women. So,
Mhm.
Steph, broadening your sex appeal with women. We've got a few things on the list here to talk about. Number one, dress nicely. This is something that I think I don't know. I just see too many guys not paying attention to. What are your thoughts about a man when he shows up and he dresses nice versus when he doesn't dress nicely?
It makes a huge difference. And I also don't think it's as hard as it may seem. I know for me that I felt insecure about my style. And even just I had a friend help me find, my best style for my body. And we literally just Googled it. And I learned so much in one day. And I was like, wow, like I would never think to just Google this and assume that it would give me so many answers and help me out so quickly. So I think for any guy who is feeling insecure here, where he's like, style's not my thing, it's not my thing either. But if you just do a little research, within a couple hours, you'll be amazed at how you can dress better for yourself. And you'll start noticing what that does in terms of, women noticing you more, how better you feel in your own skin, how you get maybe more excited to pay more attention to style because it does make you feel so good and masculine and maybe more fit and sexy. So it definitely makes a huge difference for you and for the women you're trying to attract.
When you're looking at a man and you see that he's dressed nicely or not, how does that affect your opinion of him and your possibilities of wanting to get to know him?
Well, before my boyfriend, I I would definitely it's just like you gravitate towards men like that. Like when I was like dating multiple guys, it was just like, oh, he's really attractive. And then like you do notice when you're really attracted to him, like, oh, he knows how to dress himself. Like he knows how to take care of himself, essentially. And even my boyfriend now, he puts effort into his style and it's nothing crazy. He just knows what types of shirts and pants and accessories go best with his body. And it's just even a turn on in our relationship, and it continues to be a turn on because it's like, oh, he knows himself so well. It's just one of those things that plays a role in confidence. But it definitely, when I was single and I would notice guys, it's a huge additional plus. Like if he doesn't have many things going for him, but he's got style, it definitely helps. Like it's an
Yes.
obvious help. Yeah.
See, there you go, man. You heard it straight from a woman's mouth. Style does help, and it doesn't have to be crazy. And I suggest if you're not good at it yourself, obviously you can Google it as you said, but just find a woman, a friend of yours, somebody who is at least somewhat representative of your target market, and ask them what should I wear? What looks good? What do you like? And just have somebody help you. Okay,
Exactly.
next on the list, do some grooming. This is kind of similar. So, what do you think about a man who shows up nicely groomed versus one whose hair is kind of messy or doesn't look like he's really doing a whole lot to make himself look good?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's definitely a difference between like, being really hairy and knowing what to do with that hair that you have, right? Like some guys do have like a grungier look, I guess you would call it. And there are women who are into that, right? So definitely stay true to your own style when it comes to your grooming, but just keep it clean. Whatever that style is, try to keep it clean cut and have some upkeep with it. Because just as the way you clothe yourself, like this is going to make you feel more confident. You're going to feel more handsome when you look in the mirror. You're going to feel sexier. It's just going to boost your confidence to take care of yourself and prioritize yourself. And know that it's really important for you to prioritize yourself and your looks, because that has to do with how you feel, and how you feel creates the energy that women are attracted to.
Yes, yes, yes. All right, so there you go. You should dress nicely, doesn't have to be crazy, and you should do a little bit of grooming again, doesn't have to be crazy, but just clean things up a little bit rather than a
Especially down
crazy.
there.
Oh, good point. Good point.
Yeah.
What is your preference when it comes to grooming down there?
I mean, once like every woman's different, right? But some women like it bald down there. Some women like it just clean cut. I think most women just like a clean cut. If you're closely shaven or cut, you're good. She's going to want to feel more, she's going to feel more comfortable putting her face down there, having sex with you. And I know that a lot of guys don't want to shave everything off or get rid of everything. Don't get rid of everything just to please a woman. Like you do want to stay true to yourself, and do what makes you feel best. But just know that if you are cleaner cut down there, you're going to attract many more women sexually in terms of wanting to be down there, like have her face down there and rub into you. Like it's going to be a pleasant, fun, sexier experience. So just know that does make a huge difference. And some women would be willing to do a lot more for you if you were clean cut.
Yes, and that's one of the things we talked about in a previous video that you and I did about how to get more blowjobs. That was one of the things, like do some grooming.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, so next one is have confidence. So what do you think about a guy who shows up with confidence versus one that doesn't?
I mean, it's like night and day, and it's interesting because it comes in so many different forms, confidence, like I think that some men really know what they want in life. And that's like this sense of confidence you get from him when he talks about like his goals and his values. And then there's a guy who like really, really loves his job, right? And like knows that he's good at it. And that's comes across with a sense of confidence. Then there's a guy who has all the jokes and like he has the witty commentary. That's another form of confidence. So to show your confidence, like think about the things in life that you're passionate about, that you're proud of, that you've worked really hard on, any good stories you have to tell. That usually eludes confidence when you share those stories. So it can come in so many different forms, which means that all of you guys have confidence within you somewhere. Sometimes it's just a matter of knowing where it is and how you can showcase it best. So it does make, a big difference in communication and attraction when you're able to show those parts of yourself that have that confidence behind you. And if it's in all areas of your life, awesome. Like that's amazing. And if you only have a few areas, then work on the others and try to showcase more of the areas you do have confidence when you're on dates with women.
If you were out in public and you're looking out at the range of potential men in the room, and you see some who are really showing up as being very confident and some who are not, would that really impact which one you would want to get to know?
Just based on body language alone?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, body language wise, like standing up tall, but like being relaxed at the same time. Something that's interesting is a lot of guys who teach like the alpha body language, or like you want to have your legs spread to like show off your thing, and you want to be the biggest, create the biggest space. I'm like, no, stop. Like it's so obnoxious. Like, please, like, don't be telling men this, because that just makes them come across as cocky and not sexy. If you just think like your shit don't stink and you're acting like it through your body language, that's just a turn off. So just be, show up as yourself. Like, if you were to be just who you are now, and like think of what makes you proudest about yourself, like how would you, if you were about to share that part about you with someone, how would you be sitting? Like how would you prepare your body to be sharing that part of you? Sometimes I think it helps to create things that are going on mentally in your head to help you showcase a better physical portrayal of who you are and what you have to offer and what you want to share.
I love how you make the distinction between the confidence and the cockiness, because they really are two different things. And guys,
Yeah.
for those of you who are listening to this, realize that the confidence was sexy. The cockiness was an absolute turnoff to her, right? And that's going to be the case for most women. So remember, there is a line there, right? You want to be confident but not cocky. All right, next on the list. Keep your word. A man who keeps his word, especially in the beginning when she's learning whether or not she can trust you. This is really important. From your experience as a woman, Steph, when a man keeps his word, like what does that do for you?
It's everything. It's like it's so important because it shows that, I mean, like you said, it shows I can trust him. It shows that, oh, he'll have my back when I really need him, because he has his own back, like he does what's best for himself. If he says he's going to do something, he follows through. That's a sign of self, can't think of the word right now, but it's a sign of self-love, of self-worthiness, self discipline. And those are all traits that I very much admire. But I think every woman innately admires those traits, because it just shows that, oh, I can rely on this man. Like, I can feel safe with this man because I know that if he says he's going to do something, he will do it. So I think it's a safety thing. It's a trust thing. It's a respect thing. It's an admiration. We admire people who follow through with their word, just in general, anyone, right? Like, it's just, you have automatic admiration and respect for them. So I would definitely do this, once again, not only for the woman, but for yourself, because your confidence will climb very high by just simply keeping your word with yourself and doing what you say you're going to do. And if you can't do that thing, make sure that you're honest about that. And that's just as important. Like, you can't do everything all the time for everyone. So it's important to be honest with yourself and others and set boundaries and be like, hey, like, I want to be there that night, but I honestly can't. But I could do this for you, or simply I can't. So don't fall out of that. Get out of that people pleasing tendency if you're in one, because it's only going to hurt you in your future relationships. It's better to set boundaries, say no when the answer is really no, and just not please everybody all the time, but make sure you're doing what's best for you, and that's what's going to attract the best women.
Yeah, that's a great distinction you make, which is a lot of times guys feel that if they tell a woman, no, or they can't do that, that somehow that's going to like earn them negative points, right? When in reality, the negative points come from saying you can or will and then not doing it. That's the bigger risk than simply saying, you know what, I'm not available for that, or I can't handle that, or whatever, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And I'm glad you mentioned that, because even when you're in a committed, loving relationship, and even if that relationship is healthy, there's still going to be times when you can't do everything for your partner, or you can't be there at every moment that she wants you to be there. And that's okay. And it's very important that you do communicate that in a loving way, in a healthy way, where it's just, hey, I love you. I wish I could, but I've already set this priority and I have to follow through with this. But how about we XYZ, and you could always turn it around and come up with another plan if need be.
Yes. All right. I got one more on my list, which is a little different than the others, because all the other ones are things that you should do. This last one on the list is something you shouldn't do, which will help broaden your sex appeal with women. And that is, don't come across as needy or desperate for sex. This has come up, this comes up all the time, but this has come up in conversation recently, either with my clients and or friends, probably a half a dozen times in the last couple of weeks. I don't know why, it just seems to be in the air, but it's this idea that maybe you haven't been on a date in a while, maybe you haven't had sex in a while, and you're either out on a date or you're out in a social place where you're looking to meet women. There's this energy coming across from you of like, I can't wait to get a woman, and I really need a woman, and I really need to get laid. Maybe she can do it. Maybe she will do it. It's this neediness that women can feel from 5 miles away. And every time I talk to a woman about this, she says the same thing. So I'm curious your opinion here, Steph. They feel it and it makes them want to run in the other direction completely. What do you say?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that it's definitely not attractive when you have one thing on your brain and you're just like, I've had guys I went on dates with where I literally felt the neediness by looking at them. Like, just their eyes had this like intensity and like this weird smile that went along with it. And I'm like, what is happening? I was like, I'm really uncomfortable and awkward right now. And I just like, in the moment, I don't know that it's that. Like, I wouldn't put two and two together in the moment. I'd just be like, I'm getting a creepy vibe from this guy. And then it wasn't until later that I'm like, oh, you know what? That was probably just like, he probably had certain expectations, because then he tried to get me to go home with him and we were nowhere near to the point where I would want to, like, why would he think I would want to go home with him? Like, so there were so many disconnects along with like odd behavior. And that's usually what resonates as the neediness at the end of the night, where it's just like, oh, that was weird. I don't want to see that guy again.
Well, there you go, man. Even if she's not really sure that it's neediness, she's feeling something and it's weird and it's awkward and it's not helping you. It's certainly not increasing your sex appeal, that's for sure.
Because it's not safe, you know, like that intensity that a lot of needy guys have when they want the sex so bad. It's like they come across with this intensity in their eyes, and like their smile is like way too big and they stare really hard. It's like everything is like hyper alert. It's just like everything's on overdrive, it feels like. So it does create a very tense environment for her. And then she's, yeah, I find that a lot of women I've spoken to are like, I don't know, something was off about him. And it turns out to be, when we talk about it, she's like, it sounds like he just wanted to like fuck you really bad. Like, and you just were not anywhere close to where he was feeling. Yeah.
Exactly. We're going to talk about that in a future video on how to
Mm-hmm.
actually make her want that and not do what we were just talking about when you come across needy. Okay. So, Steph, any last advice for the men listening to this who want to broaden their sex appeal with women?
I would say that communication is a great one, for men to really work on communicating effectively on dates. And what that means, in terms of how I put it, is lead with a curiosity, not trying to show off. Because I feel like a lot of guys get this intimidation where they feel like, or I have to prove that I'm good enough for her. I have to prove that I'm an alpha man, or like that I'm masculine. And you come across with this intention to prove something subconsciously, the subconscious intention where you're just like, let me show her I'm good enough for her. And instead, when you do that, it doesn't help you learn about her. And then you shut off your listening, and you just come across as this guy that's just talking about himself the whole date. Or she shares something with you that's very vulnerable or like really interesting, and you don't have any response to it. And she's like, did he just hear what I said? Like, is he with me here? So I think a lot of guys get nervous and they go into that place of proving, and they shut off their listening, and then they don't ask her any questions. They don't really listen to her answers. And it doesn't turn into a flowing conversation. You know, I hear from a lot of guys like, how do you get into a flow? Like, I have trouble having conversations on dates. And I'm like, having a flowing conversation is not hard if you actually listen. So it's really about listening. And that comes from being curious and leading with curiosity, not leading with proving yourself.
You are 100% right. You know, my wife and I over the years had so many female friends who were in the dating world, and I can't tell you how many times we heard this exact complaint from them. I went on a date with this guy, and I couldn't get a word in. He just talked about himself the entire date. So many times I have heard women say that. And I know, you're right. Sometimes men want to prove themselves. Sometimes they're just nervous and they don't know what else to do, so they just keep talking. But what you said is absolutely right, which is, you can talk about yourself to some extent, but ask questions, be interested. And, honestly, every time a woman goes out on a date where a guy does ask questions, if it's somebody I know, I end up hearing about it, because here's what they say to me. It's like, it's the total opposite thing, which is, I went out on a date and it was really nice. Like, he just, he asked a lot of questions. Like, he was really interested in getting to know who I was. And it like blows their mind because so few men
Yeah.
actually do that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so true. And like you said, like it's not that you men listening shouldn't be sharing about yourself. Like as I mentioned before, like when to help with your confidence, share parts about yourself you feel good about. Like that's fine. And that's not you proving, that's just you sharing as part of the conversation. But you want to make sure that it's mutual, that she's involved and that you're actually sharing experiences together, and you're not hyper focused on you just proving something. Like you're actually like, hey, I'm with this person. How can we have fun? How can we have an interesting conversation? How can we learn about each other? You know, that's like, take it from that frame of mind of like, how can we do this together?
Yes. All right. Well, I think that is a pretty good list. If you can master all of those, fantastic. But if you can even get half of those, you have significantly increased your sex appeal with women.